Oh my gosh, do I have an amazing episode for you? Oh, I loved my chat with Tia. She was so open and vulnerable about her outsourcing journey. I really appreciate how open she was about her kind of like sense of like hitting rock bottom, burnout, how being so overworked with wearing all the hats in her business, being a photographer, led her to pretty much having a mental breakdown last year in December 2021. And then she talks about how how my outsourcing made easy program helped her evolve into actually having more time freedom with herself, her family and friends, having more time and space to be more creative, more inspired with life, and just doing the things that her heart desires. She was even able to start a podcast in the process. And it's only been about 6 months since she started learning how to outsource and implementing what she has learned. And as of that amount of time, she literally has been already on average saving 30 plus hours a week. And guess what? She's even shooting about 60 weddings this year in 2022, and she is not burnt out. Even her family and friends have said how her energy is on a whole nother level. It's like she's a new person. She had time to actually go to the cottage, enjoy her time. She has time to go to lunch with friends, and everything is done for her and exactly how she wants it. And I'm just so impressed. And she only has scratched the surface with her outsourcing journey. She's not even outsourcing that many things yet. So I'm so excited for you to tune into this episode to see what's possible for you as a photographer. I mean, as I always love to say, it is so possible for you to be a wedding photographer and have a life. And especially in the summer, because you know how the summers are, right? It's so possible. You can totally do what you love and have a fulfilling life at the same time. And just to quickly introduce Tia to you. So, Tia is a wedding photographer who craves adventure and emotion. She's a major extrovert who loves people and telling stories, and creating an exceptional experience for couples fills her soul. Tia is passionate about inspiring others. She loves to explore new places, and her heart belongs by the ocean. And she's also one of the hosts of the Art of Gratitude podcast. So enjoy tuning into this inspiring episode. Oh my gosh, Tia, welcome again to the podcast. And I say again because
I
you were already
know.
on the podcast before as another student success story.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it honestly just feels so good to be back and like being able to chat with you again and like again about something I'm super passionate about now. So it's gonna be awesome.
Yay. I cannot wait to dive in and literally nerd talk about your outsourcing journey and like where you're at right now and all of that. So, but before we get into that, let me know and let our listeners know what kind of a photographer are you? So, what do you love to focus on photographing? And then also tell us a random fact about you.
Okay, so I am a wedding photographer. I really like to focus on like for me, even if it's not just like weddings, it's not specifically couples, but honestly, I just really love to focus on connection. Honestly, my favorite part of the day to photograph is like reception, which is I feel like a lot of people's least favorite part of the day, but that's probably my most favorite part just because all of the family's there and I just love seeing people connect with each other. So basically any sort of like connection is the best. Yeah, and then a random fact about me, like this is actually kind of tough. Like I don't even know. I wanted to be a meteorologist like all
Wow.
through growing up. I literally wasn't funny story. I like grew up like obsessed with storms. I used to sit on the sidewalk as the storm was coming and like watch the clouds come in as a kid. I literally used to watch the Weather Network for fun when I was like 11 years old. It's kind of weird, but I was obsessed. And then grade 10 hit, I realized I'm terrible at math. So I decided to switch, decided to randomly take a bunch of art courses and photography courses, and then realized I freaking loved it.
Oh,
So
that's so cool.
yeah, it's interesting how it kind of pushed me into that journey. Oddly enough, now like my favorite time of day to photograph is like when it's a stormy day. Like I love when those dark
Oh,
clouds are rolling in behind portraits. Like kind of
that's
combines
so
my love of
cool.
my love of both things into one. But I
Yeah.
still one day dream of going to Tornado Alley and like seeing a tornado.
Where is that?
Tornado, it's like there's like a line that goes through the states. It goes
Mhm.
through like Texas, Oklahoma, I don't know, a few other states. I don't know. I used to be
Yeah,
super
yeah.
fascinated as a kid. Have you ever heard of the movie Twister?
Yes, I remember that movie. I
Okay, so I
remember
was
them.
obsessed
Didn't
with
they
that
hide
movie.
under a bridge? And I was like, holy shit,
Yeah.
but what if
So
the bridge
honestly, like
goes up?
I've always dreamed of seeing that, which sounds crazy. Like
Because it's such
yeah,
an
nobody,
adrenaline rush and like,
it
holy
is.
fuck, like a tornado, like that would be insane to see
I've like
in real life.
experienced one, like one went through my campsite when I was camping when I was younger. And I think that's also was like a big trigger of why I loved it so much, but I didn't get to actually visually see it. My dad did.
Wow.
I was really young too. So like
Yeah.
I just remember like the chaos. But I'm like, one day I will see a tornado in person. I know most people probably don't dream of that, but like one day.
Oh my gosh, it's so interesting. And it's so funny because I'm like meteorologist, that's so random.
I
And
know.
I like literally am so obviously we're all ignorant to so many things, right? In life. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know you needed to know math for that. But I'm like, oh yeah, well, if you really think about it, yeah, you pretty
So
much do.
much science and math. Like I almost failed physics and chemistry. Like it was not, I was not having fun. It's funny
Yeah.
because there's actually a tornado watch right now for Southern Ontario. So I'm like looking out the windows. I'm like,
You're
oh.
watching. I swear to God, you'll probably be like, Sarah, you know what? I actually see a tornado. So fuck this podcast
I
right
gotta
now.
go.
I gotta go. You know
And that
what?
would be
Since it's your
cool.
dream, please tell me if you see it outside your window, just hit the pause
Deal.
button, send me
Deal.
a video. We will reconvene afterwards.
Love that.
I can't get in the way of your dreams, you know?
Gotta see a tornado one day.
It's so funny because I actually wanted to, if I didn't go into photography, I wanted to either be like a gym teacher because I loved sports or something to do with like
Gym teacher.
coaching or
Okay.
personal training, or psychology because I'm fascinated with psychology.
I really like
But
the
then,
psychology. Gym teacher
yeah,
doesn't sound very fun to me.
I just
No
love
thanks.
sports and games and movement and all that. So I was like, oh, that'd be so fun. But then I was like, oh, wait, I need to take like science and kinesiology in university. I'm like, nah. And then
See?
psychology, you'd have to write essays. And I'm like, I hated writing essays. Like, oh.
No.
So I'm like, okay, nope, not doing
I'm
that.
not a school person. It's you either are or you aren't a school person, and
Yeah.
I'm not a school person. I like the structure of like always having a schedule, but I didn't like the actual aspect of like having to think and process things.
Yeah, for me, it's so random because I love learning. Like I'm a nerd when it comes to learning.
Yeah,
I'm constantly like reading books, personal development, learning business courses. But like I feel like it's like the whole like, don't tell me what to learn. I'm gonna learn what I feel like learning and I'm
exactly.
gonna write about what I feel like writing about, that kind of
Exactly.
thing.
And I
Yeah.
think another thing too is that like when you're learning things that you can't fully relate to your life right now, like when I'm learning
Mhm.
math, I'm like, when the hell am I going to
Yeah.
use this? Like, there is no way I'm going to be using this like polygraph. I don't even know, whatever. I don't even know what it's called
Wow, you
anymore.
actually
See,
remember
that's,
that word.
I don't even, anyways, I'm like, that's how much like I'm like, that doesn't relate to my life, but like, give me a business book on how I can market myself. I
Mhm.
can relate to that and I will learn that.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I love that side tangent. So many random things we already talked about.
I know.
Okay, so to get the convo started, you did mention you wrote me a note and you're like, OMI. So for those of you that are listening and you're like, what the hell is an OMI? So OMI is short for Outsourcing Made Easy. That's my program where I teach photographers how to outsource so they have more time freedom, creative freedom, and financial freedom. And so you wrote, Omi has literally lifted so much anxiety off my back. That's like your quote.
So much.
So I would love to, I love that, like how you even wrote that, because I feel like, because we actually physically can feel that like energy within our body,
Oh,
right? It feels heavy, you know, and you're like,
100%.
oh, I feel like so much weight has lifted off my shoulders. It's just so fascinating how our bodies actually are communicating with us that something is up. We need to
Oh,
take
yeah.
better care of ourselves and change something needs changing in our lives. So yeah, tell me how did that help you like lift that anxiety off of your back?
Yeah. First off, I just want to touch on like what you said about the weight on your shoulders because it's so true. I actually experienced this again, like that feeling. My family moved to Nova Scotia. I'm hoping to go out there too. And I drove out there. And when we were driving home, we drove through Nova Scotia, which is beautiful, like ocean everywhere. I loved it. You drive into New Brunswick and you're getting into kind of French zone. I don't speak French. So like slightly, I'm like, okay, like I don't feel as comfortable here, but it's still just as gorgeous. I hit Quebec. I feel super uncomfortable there because I don't speak French. I know nothing about Quebec. The roads, people are a little bit more like terrifying. Um, and then you hit Ontario, and I literally got on the 401, and instantly I was like, I feel sick. Like my stomach hurts. I don't feel good. I feel anxious. I'm like, I don't want to be here right now. I'm exhausted. And I felt so good that entire drive. And we drove there too. I felt great the whole drive there. But like coming back, like as soon as I entered back into Ontario, I instantly felt like not good. And
Wow.
I was like, wow, like if this doesn't show me that like I need to change where I am, and like we're hoping to buy a house soon, I'm like, this doesn't push me to like move out of my comfort zone and go somewhere new, I don't know what will, because I do not feel good. Isn't that like crazy?
Wow. Thanks
I
for
know.
sharing that. That's incredible. And that you're
So,
so
so
self-aware
true.
too. That's
Oh
amazing that
yeah.
you're so
And like it
self-aware of
was
that.
just, yeah, I was sitting in traffic and I'm like, this is like not like I don't want to feel like this.
Mm.
I'm like, it's so weird how as soon as we entered into this area, like instantly I'm just like, I feel very uncomfortable. Like that's the best way to explain it. I'm like, my body just like does not feel good.
Wow. It's so
Um,
fascinating. Before you answer my question then, because I have to go on
yeah.
another tangent with what you just said, because I used to go to this like energy worker, and she mentioned how during different chapters of our lives, we're energetically meant to be in different locations. And
I
so
totally heard
like
that
she
before. I
actually
totally believe it.
moved to Nova Scotia too,
No
because
way.
yeah, her like like apparently like the longitude and latitude, is that the right words?
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
that place was where her energy was, where she was supposed to be to receive the energy she needed in this chapter of
Oh,
her
what is it?
life.
Astrocartography? I think that's what it's called.
Ooh,
It's
maybe.
actually a thing. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
looking into it. It's funny because technically, like my, like if I were to move that way, it really doesn't line up too much, but not that it doesn't line up. It's like if I'm thinking in my head, what do I want out of life somewhere else? But if I actually look at what I need, it
Mhm.
lines up that way.
Wow.
So I'm like, oh, well, I want this. And it's telling me if I want this in my life, I need to go live here. But I'm like, what do I need? Like, what is God
Yeah.
telling me that I need in my life rather than like, what do I want?
Mhm.
But yeah, I think it's called astrocartography.
That's cool. I'm totally gonna Google the crap out of that after this call.
It's so freaking cool. It's really deep though. So like
Yeah.
it took me a while. Even I still don't even understand it. Like it's so much. I think Catherine Sinkina from
Oh,
Manifestation Babe, she talks about it a little bit.
oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
really cool.
All
Okay,
right.
question.
Yeah.
um yeah, honestly, like so now that I've experienced that again, like this is
Mhm.
like the second time I've experienced that. And honestly, just like having some help, like just lifting things, like tasks off my to-do list that I didn't have to do. Like I flash back to last year and looking at how I felt between like September, October, November. Not only was
And
I
last
really,
year
really,
was 2021, just so
yes,
everybody
2021. So
knows.
not
Yeah.
only was I like extremely overwhelmed, stressed, had way too much on my plate, was trying too hard to juggle too many things, and didn't have time to even like live my life. I was also dealing with a lot of stuff in my own personal life. And there was big changes happening around me. My parents were moving to a different province, and that was a really big change for me. I'm really close with my parents.
Mhm.
So it was a little bit overwhelming, and I didn't even have time to like process that my parents left because I was so focused on everything I needed to do for my business. And I love my business. There was not one task that I was like, I hate doing this, but there was too many tasks that I just was like, I almost don't want to do it today. Like I just don't want to do anything today.
Mhm.
And that was sad. It kind of was sad that like I was looking at my business that way, because I love photography so freaking much. I love being an entrepreneur. I love having my own schedule. I actually just went full time at that time. So I was like so disappointed almost in myself, because I was like, I went full time and like, this is what my life is. Like, why am I doing this? Because this is just exhausting. So having that chance to like send things off my chest and like have someone help me out, and just outsource certain tasks, literally like now I wake up and I no longer feel guilty if I go out for lunch with a friend. Like I went for lunch with a friend today. I don't feel
Yeah.
guilty. Like I actually feel really good. I no longer feel like this like pressure on me when someone asks me for help and I say yes out of obligation because I don't want to let them down. But then I'm like, oh, I wish I didn't because I have 10 other things I should be doing. But now I can say yes because I want to say yes. And because I actually have the time to. And like my work will be there when I get back because I have someone else helping me. I can go on vacation. Like it just, and being able to do those little things for myself has just, I literally feel lighter. I feel less sick to my stomach all the time. My digestion has been better, which is crazy. It's such a random thing, but like
Wow. Yeah.
I think was so stressed and overwhelmed and anxious all the time that like my digestion was terrible. Now I can just, I feel, I don't know, I feel a lot better. Like I just overall feel like a better person. I've had people in my life literally tell me that my energy is completely different than it was last year at this time.
Wow.
Like Yeah. My mom, when
Can
they
you,
say that, when they're like, yeah, you seem so much just vibrant. You seem so much more vibrant, so much more
oh my
energy. I'm like, I
gosh.
feel it. I feel
I
it.
feel like I can attest that. Remind me, was it you that had the like 50 something sessions on one of
Believe
the
it.
first support calls from Omi?
Yep.
Yes. Oh my God. I was literally, okay, right before this podcast recording, I was
Yeah.
in the shower, showering away to like relax because I love water. I'm a fucking water sign.
Same.
And I'm just like, boom, I got this like flashback of like one of the first support calls from Omi after the launch in 2021. And I was just remembering, like, was it Tia that had like the 50 something sessions
Yeah.
and like 5 weddings in her queue or something? And then
Yeah.
just remember, for some reason, I thought you were a different person in my mind. Remember, so I just said, I'm
Yeah.
like, was it Tia or was it someone
Yeah.
else? I totally feel that. I'm like, it's like you were a different person. And now, and especially also the previous podcast recording we had about your CCM success story,
Yeah.
it's like I was like, wait, was that the same person? It's like I totally feel that same energy shift in
And
you.
literally, I had 50 then, and let's see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 5 now, like 5 sessions. So I'm only sending off my big weddings, not my small. So now I have 5 small sessions to edit, and everything else is taken care of pretty much.
Oh, oh my
Crazy,
gosh. Okay,
crazy.
so now that leads us actually into the next question I
Yeah.
had. So, what are you currently outsourcing in your photography business?
So right now I'm currently outsourcing my culling.
Mm-hmm.
I'm outsourcing my proof galleries. So I just things a little bit differently. Like I create proof galleries with the unedited versions of the images for clients to choose from, and then I send off their edits if they get a certain amount.
And this is for sessions
Um,
and weddings?
no, so just for small sessions,
Mhm.
weddings, I give everything.
Got
I have
it.
like a set number of images, and that kind of goes with
Got
it.
it. Mhm.
So yeah, culling, weddings and small sessions, like portrait sessions, proof galleries for portrait sessions, and then right now, like editing my weddings is kind of what's
Mhm.
being taken off my back.
That's
Yeah, so it's not
amazing.
even that. Like when I look at it, I'm like, it's only really a few things, but it's the
Yeah.
few things that take up the most time in my day. It's
Yes.
the things that I struggle to get through because I can't focus because I'm worried too much about what I need to do that I can't focus on the next thing. uh, just having some of those things just taken off, like now I actually work so much more efficiently because I'm not thinking of the 10 other billion things I need to do, and I can focus on the one thing that I'm doing right now.
Awesome. And like
Yeah.
on like if you were to guess, like how much time a week does that save you? Does that support save you?
Oh gosh, I think right now my VA is working for me about 10 hours a week, 10 to
Mm-hmm.
10 to 12. It kind of depends. Right now it's like crazy busy season. So
Mm-hmm.
she's probably doing a lot more
Mm-hmm.
right now. So yeah, probably 12-ish, 12, 15.
Mm-hmm.
So saving me that time, and
That's per week too.
that's per week right now.
That's
Yeah,
2 full working days.
pretty much. And
Just your
then
VA.
yep. And then for editing wise, like it takes me a really long time to edit a wedding.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen photographers edit so freaking fast. I just don't know how they do it. I get so emotionally attached to an image. It never looks good to me. No matter how many times I look at it, click it, it just is never perfect. So now having someone edit, like it probably went down from 20 hours. And I think my last one, when I adjusted it, like I had to do some tweaks, and it probably took me like 40 minutes max to go through everything and like tweak it a little bit. That was
Oh,
it.
so from 20 hours to about 40 minutes
Pretty
per
much.
wedding,
Yeah. Oh, I guess in like the process of like,
preparing it for the editor.
yeah. So let's say
Yeah.
maybe like 2 hours
Yeah. Okay.
total for everything.
Perfect. So you've cut, okay, math. Let's do some math here
I know.
together.
Right.
How much percentage of time less is that, So, okay. Yeah. So from 20
Let's
hours to
see.
2 hours per wedding.
I
That's
have a
incredible.
calculator.
I'm guessing
That's,
that's 90%. That's my guess.
I feel like that is 20. No, 2 divided by 20. 10. Oh, that's, I don't think that added up.
Now you're like, oh, wait, I can't even do math on a calculator.
How do you determine that?
I'm gonna go.
See, this is why I dropped out, guys. This is why I'm a photographer. I need to hire a bookkeeper too, because clearly I can't manage that. How do I do that?
Oh my gosh. That's okay. That's okay. They see the significance. They get it.
Yeah, you know what? We figured it out.
I know for sure there are people here totally resonating with us right now.
I think it's 90%. I think you're right. Okay.
Yeah. Oh my god.
90%. How much time I'm saving.
So I'm actually curious because Okay, so first of all, I do have to say, like, holy shit, amazing job too, because I remember during
Thank
that
you.
support call how you felt so stressed, so overwhelmed, and you're like, but Sarah, I have so much shit to do. I can't even start to outsource and blah blah blah. And it's like this
I know.
vicious cycle, right? That if you don't pause, take 2 weeks to pause out of the tasks that are keeping you stuck, you're gonna continue to stay on the vicious cycle
And the crazy thing
until
was I
you
didn't.
stop.
I didn't pause. I didn't. I
Yeah.
literally like pushed my way through and
Mhm.
then I'm not being completely vulnerable here.
Mhm.
I felt like I hit a rock bottom point in December. Like I had like a mental breakdown. I was
Mm.
just so I was going through such a depressive episode. Again, I think just with things changing my personal life and then being so overwhelmed with business and just not knowing like who I was at that point. I feel like I was just so lost. I'm like, I don't even know what I want in life. I don't know what's going on. I just went full time in a business that is literally running me to the ground. I
Mhm.
was so down. And I was like, that this is it. Like, I don't know how I'm going to come out of this. I don't know. Funny enough, we recorded the other podcast.
Mhm.
I owe a lot of this to you. And I know you probably don't even know this, but we recorded the other podcast. And at the very end, afterwards, you gave me recommendations on another podcast to listen to and like an account to follow. And once I looked into her, I started listening to more of her stuff, reading into her. My life was changed.
Was it
Like,
manifestation,
honestly,
babe?
it was.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was, but I listened to one thing. I started all the way back at the beginning and I listened to one of her very first episodes.
Mm.
Probably 5 episodes in, I was just like, what the fuck have I been doing my entire life? Like, holy shit, there is so much information out there on like just how to completely change my mindset. And I feel like I've just been ignoring it. And once I started doing that, I was like, this is it. My life is going to be forever changed. Honestly, since that day, I feel like I'm a different person. Like
Oh.
and then that is what pushed me, I think, to be like, okay, you know what? Screw this. I'm doing this. Like, I'm not spending all this money in this course and actually like learning all this and doing all this work to not do any of it. So I'm like, I'm just gonna do it. I just gotta put myself out there. I didn't feel ready when I did it, but I did it anyways. And I think
Mm.
that was a big thing.
That's something I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you because as we evolve, any new level we get to in life, there's always discomfort. And it's
Oh
like, I
yeah.
love to use the metaphor of like a baby, like all those little steps that they're evolving through. Like, first time they're walking, they're going to fall on their ass, they might hit their head, they're going to
Yeah.
cry. And it's like, those are like growing pains, and they're scared to
Yeah.
do that. And to us, we're on the other side of that. We're like walking, talking, like, we're like, oh, we got this. So it's like, we see that as like, oh, like they're still learning that, right? And it's like it
Yeah.
it's like no matter I try to like remind myself all the time, no matter how old we get, even 100-year-old has something new to learn and something new to apply and a fear to move through, a
Yeah.
discomfort to move through in order to get a new result that they've never experienced before.
Yeah.
So I'm really proud of you that you went through that, pushed through that resistance, or like moved through it even. And I would love to know, like, so you just mentioned like that was kind of like, I think you had to like get your mindset right to realize
I
that it's
think so too.
possible for you, right? But was
I
there
think so
anything
too.
else that helped you move through that? Like, what was it that was stopping you actually? Like, was there like a thought or a belief or like something like it won't work for me? Or like, what was it that you think was stopping you from like diving into it?
Honestly, I think it was just a new territory. I think it was just the fear of the unknown. Like, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know how this worked. Like, it just seemed, I look at you and I look at others that are already doing it. And like, it just seems so effortless that I'm like, how the thought of starting is just such a big step.
Mhm.
And I don't know, I was very intimidated by the whole process of like hiring a VA. I knew right off the bat that like culling was the first thing I wanted to get off my back because that was the thing I don't like the most. It just takes up the most of my time. It drains me and it makes me then not want to do the editing or anything else later
Mhm.
on because I'm just like, I love seeing the moments again, but I love seeing the moments more when they're edited. Like, I get more
Yeah.
excited looking at those pictures when they're complete rather than looking at them, throughout the day trying to decide.
Mhm.
So I knew that was the first thing I wanted to outsource. And the whole process seemed daunting. But what kind of pushed me, I think, in that moment, so you had posted in the Facebook like Omi group, basically like a referral of like a VA that you thought would be a good fit for a photographer. And I literally had nothing prepared. I just finished watching the virtual assistant videos. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to email her. So I literally I literally quickly went back through over that video and like how to write your like job posting, wrote it out, and then just emailed it to her as if like I was like posting a job posting to her.
Yeah.
Uh, and she emailed back within 20 minutes. And I didn't think, I'm like, maybe, maybe somebody already emailed her. Cause I think I emailed her like 2 days after you had posted it. And I was like, she's probably already like, someone's probably already got her. And she emailed me back 20 minutes later. And I literally looked at my boyfriend and I was like, oh my God, someone just emailed me about being a virtual assistant. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is happening. I'm like, I'm doing this. I'm setting up an interview. I'm like, she has fantastic English. She's so sweet. She is like an angel. I'm like, this is it. I'm doing this. And then I just kind of went with it. And I don't know. I really think I just needed to take that like step. It literally was just that first email was like the hardest part. And I really think it was just the fear of the unknown. Like I just didn't know what to expect.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool. Do you want to know a
Yeah.
crazy story? So
Okay. Yes.
you're probably because I encourage my students to really learn the process. Like in OMI, there's a module where it's step by step on exactly how to find the right
Yeah.
unicorn VA for you, right? And I never just want to like give handouts like, oh, this VA is like, here's a referral, because I really
Mm-hmm.
want everybody to learn how to actually find the right person for them, because there's no one size fits all VA for anyone. And so
100%.
that was the only time I have ever in the 3 years
No way.
history of
Okay.
OMI that I posted a referral for a VA. And you know why? Because things were shifting. So Rachel, my VA, it seemed that maybe she was going to go a different direction and like start her own business and stuff. We've been working together for 3 years already. And so I was pretty much on the hunt for a new VA. And I found
Okay.
her and I was just about to start onboarding her. And then things shifted for my VA, Rachel, and she realized just things weren't lining up. She was like pushing too quick and she still really, really wanted to stay on with me. And my intuition as soon as I got that email was like, yeah, keep like Rachel. And for some reason I meant to go through that process again. And I found that amazing VA because I did interview her. And I'm like, well, I mean, if I'm not going to hire her, I can't let all this effort go to waste. I'm like, here guys, like here's someone that seems like they really
Crazy.
would be a great fit.
So
And
crazy. And
so
she is
yeah.
the perfect fit for me.
Oh,
I like, and I just like, we even talk, like, just like she tells me her life story. So right now, like, she has actually taken some time off. She's on vacation this week. Her husband's visiting from a different country and like visiting her, and they're spending time together. And it's just like, I don't know. I love hearing her story, and like, we kind of become friends. She like is hilarious. Like she sends me pictures of like some of the pictures I send, and she's like, oh my gosh, this picture reminds me of this meme. It could be like a funny baby picture, a kid picture. And I'm like, stop. Like she is just so aligned with like who I am as a person too. And she'd be like, Tia, like I'm tearing up going through these photos. I'm like, me too.
oh.
So like I feel like it was just such a good fit. And I did the whole process too. Like
Mm.
I'm like, okay, I'm gonna send her an email just as if I'm sending a job posting.
Yeah, I love that
And
you did that. So
it
good.
worked out. I made it very clear what I was looking for, did the interview, asked all the questions, did the sample tasks. And everything has it lined up so well. I was a little nervous at first because I was just like, I don't know really what I'm looking for. Like, how will I know for sure if she's a good fit or not? But I just kept going, and she was doing things I didn't even know that I wanted out of a VA. Like,
Yeah.
for instance, she would come across a problem, and instead of like reaching out to me like, hey, this is the problem I'm encountering, how do you want me to go about it? She would research, watch YouTube videos, figure it out, solve the problem, and then come to me being like, this is my solution, does this work for you? Mind blown. I was like, I didn't even know I needed this out of a person, and I
Yes,
got that.
exactly. Oh my God. Can I ask you a question? Did you
Yes,
have problem solver written in your job post? Do you remember?
that's a good question. I feel like I did.
Yeah.
I
Because
feel
I
like I
definitely,
did.
because I have that. I had that in the sample job post that I give you guys. I had that in there
Yeah,
because, like you just said, it's such an important quality to have. And it's not necessarily someone who
I
has
actually
the
feel like I did.
experience of
Yeah,
like the task that you're going to train them to do. It's more of like the qualities that they have as like a person that
right.
will be working for you. Like,
I think
I'm
that
a
was like the
problem
most
solver
nerve.
because it saves you so
Yeah,
much time and a headspace, right? Like you just said, you're like,
yeah,
wow, I didn't even have to spend my
exactly.
extra valuable time of half an hour trying to problem solve. Like she just did it for me. And then it's worth you paying that for her to do that. So that's
Oh, like
amazing.
100%. And that was the thing. I think I was just, I mean, I expected someone who didn't know the photography industry. I literally have to train from scratch. And I mean, I did. She is into photography. She loves photography, but she didn't do anything like that professionally. So I definitely had to train her.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think I was more nervous about that process, thinking that like it's going to be so hard to show someone
Mhm.
how to do something without knowing anything about it, if that makes
Our
sense.
brains are so fascinating. They just make up these
I
stories, these
know, but she
possible
just picked it up so
futures.
quickly.
Yeah.
Like I just, the techniques that you use to give feedback and like using those techniques, I'm like, it has changed my life. Like I couldn't imagine not giving feedback in the way that I give feedback because I feel like it just wouldn't resonate the same. Like now I'm just like, well, it just makes complete sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. And are you comfortable sharing like how much you're paying per hour for her?
Yeah, so I'm paying her $6 Canadian an hour.
Mm-hmm.
She actually requests, I think it's easier for her to send her, if she can send her invoices in USD,
Mm-hmm.
which I was totally fine with. She felt more comfortable with that. So I think it's like 475 USD an hour,
Okay,
something
cool.
along those lines.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then I know it was a little bit more than a lot of them were requesting like 5, and so we were doing 6, and
Mm-hmm.
then I told her we would touch base again in 6 months to see how she's
Yeah,
doing and like consider a raise and kind of going from there.
that's awesome.
Because she's been doing such a good job. Like I'm so happy with like how things are moving. She gets faster with things every time. She even puts like how long she puts it, and like
The
send me emails being
timestamps,
like,
right?
yeah, she like, you'll notice that like I held that gallery the same number of images in 30 minutes quicker this time.
Oh.
Because I told her like my expectation of like, well, this is how long it takes me, but obviously I've been doing this for
Mm-hmm.
so long and I know what to look for myself. So I
Mm-hmm.
expected her to take a little bit longer. Which of course, like she has at first, but
Yeah, because
each time it's a
there's
little bit
the
sooner.
learning curve. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. So each time a little bit sooner, and it's so good to see.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And did you even know that it was an option for you to find someone that's affordable, an affordable option to get help in your business? Or did you always assume that you'd have to
No
like rake out the
freaking
cash?
no freaking way. Like no. I see like other people with VAs now that are like, I'm like, I wonder how much you pay them. Like how
Yeah.
much, like, are they doing, are they doing a good job? Like, are you happy with it? Because like, I'm happy with it. And I'm literally like perfectly aligned with my budget. Like
Yeah.
it blows my mind that I'm like, I'm probably just as happy with my VA as someone else is with theirs. And I feel like I'm saving so much money, but like also being able to give her enough money for a good quality of life. Like I told her to be open and honest with me if there was
Yeah.
something she needed from me, if cost wise, like she's looking to up her costs of like how much she's wanting to get per hour. And if it lines up with me, like I'm just be honest. Like I told her
Yeah,
to be open and
exactly.
honest
Yeah.
because for
And
me,
you can
I want to be flexible.
Yeah. And you can always like add on, like for my VA, I give her and her family healthcare, which is like
Yeah.
a huge bonus. Like the
So
amount of
cool.
times I got an email from her being like, oh my God, we have to go to the hospital again. You have no idea how much money this saved us. Like, thank you, thank you, thank you. It's
So
like the best
crazy.
feeling. And I'm like, yes, you take care of me. I'm here for you. Like, I have your back too.
Yeah.
Right. And for those of you
Yeah.
listening, you're like, what the hell are you guys talking about? Can you guys already say where you find your VA for that little? I know there's so many of you being like, what the fuck? So pretty much there's an option for you to hire overseas. And I think there's a stigma around
Oh,
like
100%.
hiring overseas because I think a lot of times it's like you think of like sweatshops and this and that and child workers and all of that.
I
But
think that
like,
was definitely my
yeah,
mindset at first too when I heard that. I'm like, but does that does it sound very
is that
ethical? Like,
ethical? Yeah.
is this a good way to go about this?
Yeah.
But I'm so
But
happy I
there's
did it.
it's
Like,
literally the
no,
stigma because all it is, like for us, it's $6 Canadian an hour. For those of you that are in the States, it's about 475 an hour. And of course, this ranges, right? It just
mhm.
depends on what you want to pay, what whoever you're hiring, but it can be that low. And all it is the conversion rate of the dollar. That's all
Yeah,
it is. So like for her, that's a regular like anywhere between I'm assuming minimum wage and like maybe $20 an hour, like somewhere in there.
yeah,
And again, as their experience grows, like and you train them to understand more tasks, they gain skills from you. That's when you slowly give them raises. So you get the benefit of like being able to spend less initially and you're training them up. And then
exactly.
maybe in the future you spend a little bit more, but it's still totally affordable. Like for example, my VA Rachel, I started her off at $5 an hour 3 years ago. And now I have her at $14 an hour because she's like also my podcast producer. She helped
That's so
put
amazing.
together so many of my actual courses, like video. She had to learn video editing from scratch, like so much shit. And I'm just like, $14 an hour, like I like for her to make that in the Philippines per hour is
Yeah,
amazing. And I'm so happy to give her that because like she deserves every freaking penny. And on top of that, healthcare. So it is totally ethical and you can make that happen. And it gives them the like freedom of like to work from home, be with their family, like
Yeah.
it's just another entrepreneurial venture for them, like
It
to
really
just,
is. And
yeah.
I mean, especially because like I wanted someone who spoke good English specifically because not that necessarily right now I'm getting her to communicate with my clients, but I knew for me, I didn't want that like barrier.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I didn't want that barrier for like me being able to communicate effectively with her because I know that like there are times where I just want to throw things at her really quick and I don't have time to sit there and try to explain it. And I'm like, if there is a language
Yeah.
barrier, I'm going to feel very frustrated. And then I want to be able to give her the good experience of working with me. And I want the good experience of, what she can bring for my business too.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing like that she has gone out of her way to like learn good English and like be able to communicate effectively, that is just a good opportunity for her. Like she has given herself the opportunity to be able to have jobs like this and to
Mm-hmm.
be able to work for people in other countries and so many different ventures and industries because she's, given herself that opportunity to learn English.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I love working with her. I love that experience. And it is nothing like what I expected. I now like would preach this time and time again that like this is nothing like anything I would have expected. Every time I've told someone, like they're like, "Oh, what? Like, where did you get your VA?" I'm like, "Oh, she's actually from the Philippines," and they're like, "What? What do you mean?
Yeah.
You're not in Canada?" I'm like, no, like actually, it's really cool. She's awesome,
Yeah.
and yeah, just being able to explain that, being like, she's freaking great, and
Yeah.
it's nothing like what people have in their mind about like that expectation of like what this looks like.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's eye opening to people.
Yeah. And it's totally 100, like there's so many like amazing English speaking Filipinos like that know how
Oh
to
yeah,
write really well, speak really well, read. That's what I have with Rachel. When I go through applications, there's so many options of people that are like have English as like pretty much almost first
yeah,
language. Like it's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. It's crazy.
Oh my gosh. I would love hearing all this. Okay, what was my next question? I'm like, tell me more. Um, oh yeah. So actually, I'm wondering like what was the thing that you felt most uncomfortable letting go uh with outsourcing? Like, yeah, what was the task that was like, oh, this is the hardest one, but I'm gonna move through it anyway?
Definitely editing.
Hmm.
Definitely the editing. And I think because one, I still keep telling myself that no one else can do it like me. I feel like because I still sometimes struggle with it. Like I'm no professional editor, so sometimes even I look at my own work and I'm just like, oh, like this does not look right.
Said
And
every photographer ever.
I know, and
Yeah.
I think then I'm like putting this pressure on myself that I'm like, man, like all these other photographers, like they just have their style there. But no, I know I'm not the only one.
Mm,
I think it's just like that pressure of that, like I feel like I can't get my own image right. I'm like, if I can't even explain why it doesn't look right to me, how can someone else get it right for me? But removing myself from the actual task, I get galleries back and I'm like, oh yeah, that looks good. Like I don't feel a desire to tweak it because I'm seeing it for the first time edited after
mm.
not staring at it for 20 hours. I
Yeah.
mean, that's like the biggest point there is that like I haven't been staring at the same wedding for 20 hours, that it just looks right. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, that actually looks consistent with my style. Perfect. Like maybe I'll,
Yeah,
I
you're
because
not in the
my
cycle of overthinking.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So looking at it fresh, edited, like I just got it back. I'm just going through it for like the first time after doing my sneak peeks maybe a couple weeks ago.
Mhm.
I'm like, well, yep, this all looks like it looks great. It's all flowing nicely. It looks nice. Like I don't really have any sort of like warrior complaint. Maybe there's a couple little tweaks I make and then I give some feedback. And
Yeah.
I just didn't realize it was that easy. But
Oh.
I do think the cost also was a big play in it.
Mhm.
I'm actually still working with like trying to find the right editor for me right now. In terms of like what really does fit in with my budget. I've actually been in contact before. I was using a company, but now I'm in contact with like a private editor who
Mhm.
seems more aligned with my budget and more quickly in terms of like turnaround time.
Mhm.
And I'm really excited to like give her a try too. But I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna keep giving it a shot and
Yeah.
keep trying and see what works best. And once I find something that works and sticks, I'm just gonna stick with it and keep going and
Oh my gosh. I am so proud of
process.
you.
Thank you.
Like you dove in and you're like, okay, it's easier than I thought. Okay, okay. And then you're so in tune with like what you need and want, because like I said, like there's no
Yeah.
one size fits all VA for everyone. Same for like editor.
No.
Like when people are like, oh, who is your editor, or what editing company do you use? My response is always like, I can tell you easily it's Image Salon, but literally that if I give you that information, there's so much more that you need to know to be able to have a successful relationship with your editor.
Yeah.
So I love that you're like actually noticing like, okay, but what works for me? Like,
Yeah.
doesn't matter that works for that photographer or Sarah or whoever. Like, okay, I could see the process of how outsourcing editing could work. And now I'm going to, I think, figure out a different option. And I love that you're like customizing it for
Yeah.
yourself and your own business.
Well, I think a
So
big thing too was
amazing.
that like for instance, not every photographer does this, but when I have up close images, I like to do like skin touch-ups, like skin softening. I really like that, like just like soft, gentle look when it's a really up close portrait.
Mm-hmm.
And Image Salon, I did try them and they don't offer that. It's
Mm-hmm.
like an additional like option.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not gonna like it's only on select images. Like that's it was like a whole nother process to get that
Yeah.
back to them to be able to do that. And I was like, I just do it in Lightroom and I'm totally happy and content. And they weren't it's just not part of their process. So I'm like, I feel like finding a private editor for me is just a better option. Someone who is willing to use that brush tool for an extra 5 seconds
Mm-hmm.
and kind of include that as part of their price per image,
Yeah.
considering it's only like a select number of images out of a gallery, that kind of thing. So that's what I'm in the process right now, is just finding a good fit for that. And I have a really good feeling about it. But just, it was nice that I was able to like kind of point that out and acknowledge that, being like, okay,
Yeah.
like, Image Salon is great. It's just not quite working for like what I like to do. And I feel like there is a better option for me,
Yeah.
cost wise, efficiency wise, and time wise. I'm like, I can make this quicker. I can make this more efficient, and I can make this more cost effective on my end,
Yeah.
just by searching a little bit harder and finding someone that's the right fit. So
I love that. And I love how you're like in tune with, okay, how can this be more efficient? That's so
yeah.
important because time is
Oh
so
yeah.
valuable, so valuable. And on top of
Oh
that, it's not
gosh.
only like your time, it's also your energy, right? And
Yeah.
then also more cost effective so that you can maybe invest in other areas in your business or give yourself a higher freaking paycheck, right? That you so
Yeah.
deserve. So that's amazing. Actually, another idea, just in case this is the right idea for you or anyone
Please.
listening, imagine even if your workflow was to have that wedding edited, however, without the skin retouching. And then imagine part of your workflow was if you wanted to give your VA more hours, you could train her how to do that because it's pretty easy to teach,
That is so
right?
true.
Just send that off once that edit is ready, they're exported. You're like, okay, go through these JPEGs and do
So
this.
true.
And it's like, then they can even continue the process into uploading it into the PicTime gallery or whatever you use, Pixie Set,
Yeah, and
PicTime.
I've already trained her to
Yeah.
do that for my proof galleries. Which, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, like just that task alone has saved me so much time. Like I can't even explain that. Like I could be at the cottage and I'm like, wow, she just uploaded like 3 portrait galleries for me. I just literally go check, send, check,
Oh.
send.
And
Like
it's like you're not
what?
doing that boring ass, like brainless
What?
work, right?
I know exactly. It's been a huge help. I love that idea though. That's definitely gonna keep that in mind too. But
Just an idea, because that's the thing. Like the beauty of this is you can customize your own outsourcing workflow to whatever fits your
yeah.
needs. Like, yeah.
I'm already thinking of ways that I can like still keep her working during my slow season, especially if I am moving and I'm not going to have as much work. I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, what can I give her that's going to keep her like working, but then also benefit me? So I'm like, maybe I'll get her a Pinterest course. Maybe I'll get her like to do my
Yeah.
Pinterest for me, like something I don't want to do, but like I would love to have that. So
Mhm.
I'm already like planning on ways that like, okay, come November, December, January, like what can I give her? So
Yeah. I love that. That's exactly what I did too. Well, I
yeah,
also was
see?
building courses over, that's a whole
Yeah,
nother ballgame,
yeah,
but
see.
holy shit. But actually, you did say that you were able to, now that you have more free time, you're able to pursue another passion, which is teaching other photographers and offering mentoring sessions, starting to, right?
Yeah. So actually I on that like along that note, I actually started a podcast. So that's kind of where this all started. I started my own podcast.
Wait,
Uh
okay.
you
I think
inspired
I
me big
saw
time.
this. When was that?
This was like February.
Yeah, I
I
think I
literally
saw
just
that.
I've been talking about it and I've always like, I don't know, I love to talk.
I
I know,
love
but
to
like
talk.
I really love to talk. So
Random fact. That's your random fact. I love to
I
talk.
also really love to talk. And I was like, how can I like bring talking into my business and like talk about things that mean something to me? with people who actually want to listen, because I feel like I just talk my friends' ears off all the time and everyone's like, yeah, Tia, we heard this before. So I'm like, okay, I want to start a podcast. And I was talking to my friend Michaela. She's a makeup artist in the industry. And we actually went to college together and both kind of went into the wedding industry. So it's kind of fun. And I was telling her like I wanted to do it. And I was like, I don't think I have the courage to do it by myself. I'm like, no one's going to want to listen to me. I have nothing, like, what do I actually have to say? And she's like, you know what? I'll do it with you. And instantly I was like, yeah, that sounds so fun. I actually had the time to do it.
Yeah.
So we started a podcast.
What's it called?
It's called The Art of Gratitude.
Awesome.
So it's kind of about like more like the wedding industry, business, entrepreneurship, and a lot about mindset. Like I said, over the last like 6 months, like my life has changed in terms of mindset. And like now I just want to scream it at everyone.
Yeah.
So we've really
feeling.
been using this. Yeah. So because of that, I feel like I've had so many people reach out to me and be like, I have so many questions. Like I've learned so much. Just asking me questions about my business, photography, how I can help them with social media and just like branding and like, things along those lines. And I was like, I feel like I have so much to talk about. So yeah, I started offering mentor sessions, mostly like geared towards like photographers starting out right now, or people who just like really need a good mindset shift in their business, because I feel like that is right now like what I'm the most passionate about and what I can speak on with the most experience over the last 6 months. So like my business has completely changed in 6 months just from me shifting my mindset. And I just like I want to scream it at everyone and be like, I can't even explain how this simple shift can completely change your life. So it's been a really cool experience being able to have more time to like do other things that I'm passionate about.
Oh, that makes me so happy to hear. It's so funny. I know exactly where you're at. I feel like that was me, like, I think 4 years ago. That, like, as soon as I had like so much more freedom from all the like sitting at my desk outside of shooting, I was like, oh, well, now what do I do? Like, let me pursue another passion. Because the same thing happened. I had so many questions. I'm like, well, I have so many in-depth answers to all of these. Why don't I start a podcast? And yeah. So I'm so excited for you. That's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been really, really good. I love being like having that time just to explore something new. It's been a game changer, just not only for my business and stuff, but like just my personal life and like my mental health, even like being able to do those things that like also just bring me joy. Like shooting brings me joy, photographing weddings brings me joy. And getting rid of the tasks that don't leaves more room for me to do other tasks that do bring me joy and like fill my cup a lot more. So,
and don't you find that as soon as you like made that shift to prioritize your well-being, your mental health, that you're having way more fun in your business? You feel less stressed, you have more creativity, you feel more confident. Do you feel that that's like
huge? I feel like it's funny because I'm shooting like now some of these are mine and some of these like I'm second shooting for some of like my good friends in the industry, but I'm shooting 60 weddings this year in total. And every time I say that, like someone looks at me like I'm insane, but I'm like, I'm young and I'm like physically able to like keep myself going for that long. I'm like, I am exhausted, like physically after 3 weekends. Like when I have 3 weddings in a weekend, I'm literally physically exhausted, but I'm not mentally exhausted. And I think that is like the bigger thing. Like being mentally exhausted is more draining to me than being physically exhausted, because I would come home from shooting like a double header weekend and I would just want to curl up in a ball and cry because I realized how much work I didn't get done in those 2 days, how guilty I felt for even being present for other clients when I wasn't present for the ones I already had. And then realizing that like my relationships in my life were failing because I wasn't there. I wasn't present. I wasn't able to be with them. And now I come back from shooting 3 weddings in a row and I'm like, cool, I'm taking Monday, Tuesday off. I'm just going to chill. I'm going to do nothing. I'm going to spend time with my boyfriend. I'm going to spend time with my family. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to go for a hike. Like things I literally didn't think I could even do, that I would have to schedule in ahead of time. And then, explain to my clients why I wasn't working on their work. Where now I'm like, no, I can post on social media that I'm going for a hike because I'm caught up. Like I have people helping me.
Oh my God. I literally felt like this, like flow of emotion when you said that. I like tears of happiness wanted to come out of me for you. And I also got chills.
Like I'm trying not to like tear up myself because I just can't even explain like I just can't believe I didn't do this sooner. And like, to be fair, I think financially I wasn't ready. And I think mentally I wasn't ready either. And honestly, when I even decided to purchase the course, I was super skeptical and terrified. And I was like, I'm probably not actually going to implement this, but I'm going to buy it anyways, because like, I feel like I should. And I'm glad I did. And I'm glad I implemented it. I think that I look back at myself this time last year and I was like, 2021 Tia would have looked at 2022 Tia and laughed, being like, how, like, no way am I going to get there. But now I'm here and I look back and I'm like, I'm just so sad for the person that I was.
And this is just over the course of 6 months. Pretty
Literally, I
much
think
that
I heard my
because
VA
like,
beginning of March.
yeah. And like, so it's in less
Yeah.
than a year, you've had this incredible transformation already. And actually,
Yeah.
let's talk about you saying financially you're not ready, because I talk a lot in the course and on the podcast about how it actually costs you more money not to outsource
Big time.
because you're not able to take on as many bookings. And photography is where we make our money as photographers. So are you now in that space where you see, oh my God, Sarah, you were right. I can shoot more and work way less than I used to?
Oh yeah. Big time. I think what it was too was that I wasn't charging enough for what I was worth, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't full time yet. I was still too focused on having a part-time job to save money while building my business. And once I went full time, I kind of went full time by accident. Again, I just got so busy. I was so overwhelmed that I like walked away from my job from like a leave of absence and then never went back because I was just so overwhelmed. I was like, well, I guess I'm full time now. And I think that push also, like, I made the most money last year than I ever had. And I was like, wow, like this is like I can do it. Like I can do this. Like I can actually make it full time, but I still wasn't charging enough. And once I realized that, like, first of all, I'm not charging my worth, but second of all, also can't keep working the way that I am. I'm now, yes, I'm outsourcing, but my experience with my clients is 1,000 times better. I actually am so present with my couples now. I feel like when I show up on a wedding day, I'm giving it my all. I feel like I can just actually be their friend and be there and feel confident and like just know how to approach a day better. I don't have like a foggy brain. And my experience, just the overall process, I've had time to implement workflows. I got Dubsado and have like automated workflows. Like what? I didn't even know that was possible. Like, again, things that I was just like, I didn't think I'd ever have time to do. And now that I have automated workflows and my experience is better, I'm now charging even more and my skills are better. I feel like, yeah, I'm paying others to help me, but I'm also offering such a great experience because of that, that I can charge accordingly.
Yeah.
So it all is kind of balancing out.
It's
Now,
all
obviously,
interconnected.
yeah, and it's a big
Yeah.
year. This is a big transition year for me. So I know, like, financially, like, this is going to be a work in progress. Like, this year is definitely not going to be like perfect. But when
Mm-hmm.
I look at like what next year, the year after, the following 5 years are going to be like, I'm like, well, I'm spending all this money and time and energy now to get this all in place, that like this is just going to set me up for infinite success in the future. Like
Yes.
I'm just preparing myself for what is yet to come. So
That's incredible. So would you say that you agree that outsourcing is an investment in the business? It has a
100%.
return on investment?
Oh gosh, yeah. Oh gosh,
Yeah.
it just like the ability, like I have now learned that money is just a tool. Money is just
Mhm.
energy. And like you spend money in order to, like, if we're just getting money and we're just being paid and we're just holding on to it for the sake of holding on to it, like what's the point in having $1 million in your bank account if you can't touch it? Like you have money because you need to spend it to get the experiences that money can bring you. And once I really also learned that, like I think again, a big money mindset shift was needed in my life. I realized that like money is just energy. I'm using this money as a tool to exchange for having a more fulfilled life
Yes.
and
Oh,
making
I
less
just got
money in
chills.
my life. Yeah, like making less money in my life right now is just not like, okay, yeah, maybe I'm spending a few $100s on, each client, trying to make sure everything's, the process is going well and everything's getting out to them. But in return, I'm happier. I'm a happy person.
Yeah.
I no longer feel
And
like weighed
like you
down.
said, you're with you showing up fully on wedding days and with your clients. Oh my gosh, the referrals for all the future years are going to
Oh my
go
gosh,
through the roof. When you
huge.
send every time you increase your pricing slowly over time, you're going to feel more confident when you send that pricing out. And when you feel
Yeah.
confident with your pricing, you book that pricing. It's like so interconnected. And man, I do really believe that outsourcing is like that, like domino. There's this like,
Big time.
YouTube video of someone has like a whole bunch of dominoes lined up, but they're not all the same size. The first domino is the
Okay.
tiniest little microscopic domino, like maybe a centimeter big. And then the
Yeah.
last one is like this big boulder domino. And it's like if they like knocked over that like small domino, it starts hitting all the bigger ones. And then it hits like the biggest one and it knocks it down. And it's like outsourcing, it seems like it's this like thing that's not necessary in business because technically it's possible for you to run your business wearing all the hats, right?
Totally
And
possible,
it,
should you know,
yeah,
but totally
yeah,
possible.
yeah. And it's not that sexy, it's not exciting. But tell me, is outsourcing now more exciting to you now that you see what it could give you? Like, is it more like a little like, because for me, when as soon as I saw the effects of it, I'm like, what else can I let go of? What else can I let go of? It's like a little
Literally.
game.
I'm obsessed. Like
Yeah.
that's like the best way to describe it. I'm freaking obsessed. Like I want to tell everyone to go outsource something. I want to yell at everyone being like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this to yourself? Like there's just so many more options. And when I see other people outsourcing, I literally look at them, I'm like, I'm so proud of you. Like, good for you. Like you nailed it. Like that's so good. Like I feel like this is just something that everybody needs to know. The amount of people that I've already told to take your course. I'm like, look, I can give you a quick like, yep, this is what I outsource and this is who I
Mhm.
outsource to, but like I'm like, you don't understand the effects that this course has had. It, it's not even like it's almost stuff that I was just like, how did I not know this? Like I listened to a lot of the information and I'm like, well, this is kind of common sense.
Mhm.
But it's the way that it's presented and the step by step that the course gives that I think is what honestly blew my mind the most. And it was like, I never would have figured this out on my own. And if I had, it would have taken me a long time and a lot of trial and error. And I feel like I just skipped 1,000 steps and I'm just smooth sailing at this point. Like maybe there's a couple bumps, but I'm making progress.
Oh, I love
And
that you mentioned. Oh, see, sorry, keep going. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I really just want to tell everyone that like there is so much potential for your business to succeed in so many different ways. You have to be willing to spend in order to receive. You have to be willing to put out that energy and that
Mhm.
time in order to get that back. It's a constant exchange of just different energies, and you just have to be willing to take a leap.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love that you said that about the step by step because it actually took me about 3 to 4 years to figure out all the processes that I share in OMI. And I
Crazy.
figured it out from scratch because there was no one else
Yeah.
teaching this. And that's how long it took me. And I had to go through trial and error, failure, blah, blah, blah. And so as I was doing this, and as once I finally figured it out, I'm like, oh my God, I figured it out. It's working. There's a roadmap. There's a step-by-step process. I need to share this with everybody because I need
It's
like
so
I
true.
have actual freedom in my life where I'm working part-time hours, making full-time income. And so for you to say that you appreciated that means so much to me because you have no idea how much time and effort it took me to like build that course step by step. I pretty much my goal was to not have any of my students wonder at any point, what do I do next? I don't know. I'm lost. It's like, nope,
Honestly, and I
next
didn't.
video, next.
Nope, I did not one bit. And I think that was the one thing. I'm really easily get stuck in student mode. It
Mhm.
is so easy for me to just like listen and absorb, like, yeah, that makes sense, totally get it, and then not do anything about it. And I think that is where the course came in handy because I would watch, I'd like, watch a module, look at the worksheets, go through it all, and be like, okay, well, now I need to actually do the steps. So like, shit, I guess I better do it. And so I do it. And I'm like, okay, step one done. Now what? And I go to the next one. I'd be like, okay, now that that's done. Okay, now I'm going to do this. Okay, done. Okay, next step. Like, and I just kind of keep going through and having that accountability after each module being like, well, this is a step you need to do. So go do it. It changes everything. Like, I feel like if I didn't have that step by step, I feel like I would just feel so overwhelmed or I'd do things out of order and then I would just confuse myself and overwhelm myself. But having a step by step was like, okay, well, step one's done, check. Like now what's step two? It's like, I
Mhm.
feel like it was like a recipe. Like I'm like baking a cake. I'm like, okay, step one,
Yeah.
pour the flour into the bowl, done. And like, that's kind of what I felt like I was doing. It was very straightforward, very simple. And again, I looked at it being like, how did I not even like figure this out? But I think that when you're at that point where you feel like you need to outsource, chances are you're so overwhelmed that like
Mhm.
there's no way I would have even figured it out at that point
Yeah.
because I was so burnt out. Like
Yeah.
I needed someone to just literally put it in front of my face, be like, this is the solution.
Yeah, the fast track. You got the fast track.
Exactly.
And
I took
that's
the
what
course and I
that's
didn't
why
feel
it's
ready.
so important to see money as a tool and energy.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, maybe you invested a couple $1,000s into the course, but then it's like that money saved you 4 years of figuring it out. How much time and energy
Literally.
is that, right? Like,
Literally follow
yeah.
step by step. It's literally like following a recipe. And I'm like, I could outsource my entire business right now if I just keep following step by step and like, go for it. And like, it's been incredible. It's really been an amazing amazing journey. And I'm like just getting started. Like this is
Yeah,
just the beginning.
I know. It's just the tip of the iceberg because there's so many more things you can let go of. And I cannot
Yeah.
wait to hear where you're going to be at next year too. And
Me too.
I'm honestly so proud of you too, because
Thank you.
it does, like you said, it's easy to stay stuck in student mode. It's easy to listen. You're driving the car, listening to podcast. Okay, yeah, yeah. And
Mhm.
then you're like, yeah, yeah, I'm going to do that tomorrow. And then you don't. And the
And that's the
transformation
thing.
really does happen when you like put like pen to paper or like your fingers to the keyboard and you sit down and you actually implement. And you
Well,
did that.
I put it in my calendar. I'd be like, okay, today I'm going
Mm,
to start this module. I'm going to watch modules 1 to 3. And I
mhm.
put it in my calendar. I'm like, I did a lot, 2 hours to like go through and like either watch them or get as far as I can and do the steps. And doing that helped because
Yeah.
otherwise, again, it was just very daunting. It was just sitting there and I'm like, oh, like
Did you
it's so
find it
much to do.
helpful that I labeled every single lesson and every single module how much time it takes you to watch it so that you can plan in
Oh gosh, it's
advance?
so helpful. So helpful. I knew I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, well, I have 2 hours, so I can watch these ones quick.
Yeah.
There was times where I'd like watch the whole thing and then
Yeah.
I'd go back and watch them again and then do each step after. So I'm like, sometimes I
Yeah.
just wanted to hear it all first. I'm
Just
like, let
gain
me
the
just
understanding and
yeah.
then implement. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. And that helped a lot. I also like went above and beyond and like printed the worksheets all color like coordinated in a
Yes,
binder. Like
workbook. Yeah.
I literally had the most beautiful workbook. So I was like, this is like, it reminds me of school and this makes
Yeah.
me feel accountable. I feel like I want to like actually do good and make things look nice. Like that's who I
Get
am.
an
I'm
A
an
plus.
organized,
I
yeah,
give
I'm an
you A
organized
plus.
person. Thank you. Love it.
Oh,
Did I get a gold
you
star with that
totally just
too?
like you're like, oh, I got an A plus. You're so funny.
Loved it. I know. I was one of those students that like
Me too.
did everything I could to get good grades, right? So like it's very satisfying to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I can't even explain in words like the feeling that I get. Like the fact that my friends and family have looked at me and been like, your energy is completely different. Like I went to the cottage and last year at the cottage, I'm gonna make this a little bit of a story too. Last year
Yeah.
when I went to the cottage, I was it was middle of like wedding season. I was so burnt out. Like I was exhausted, so drained. I get to the cottage, the literally the day I get there, I get the worst cold of life. I'm so freaking sick. I didn't want to do anything. It kind of sucked. Like I'm on vacation for a week and I barely want to like leave the bed. I pretty much tanned in the sun for 7 days. And I'm like, I don't even want to go swimming. I don't want to go have fun. I'm exhausted.
Mhm.
I also worked probably 5 out of 7 of those days. I would just sit on my laptop outside and look at the lake. Like that's what I did. And I'm
While you
like,
were
oh,
sick
well, it's
too.
better. Like I'm looking at the lake. I guess like working's fine out here, but it sucked. It sucked. This year at the cottage, I was there for a few last days. I still got sick again. I got a cold. Go figure. I feel like it's my body just going into rest mode and being like, wow, now
Yeah.
you're gonna rest. Here you go. Um, still got a cold, but it was a less minor cold. I
Yeah.
actually had fun that week and I only edited probably 5 hours out of the entire time I was there. So it was like raining the one day. So I was just sitting at my computer while everyone
Mm.
else, we were just hanging out. And I was basically editing sneak peeks from a wedding that I just shot on the Saturday.
Yeah.
So it's not something I outsource yet anyways. And I was like, okay, well,
Yeah.
if this is all I have to do, this is fine.
Yeah.
I did that. And then I think the next morning while everyone was still sleeping, I woke up early and did a little bit more. And that was it. I didn't touch my computer the rest of the time. And I went on hikes and I went swimming and I took a nap. I read a book in 3
So
days.
wait, are you saying it's possible to be a wedding photographer and have a life in the summer?
Like 100%. I went for
Yes.
lunch the last 3 days in a row and I'm still here.
Oh my God. That's what I really want to. I want to shake all photographers, be like, it's possible for you to do what you love, be a wedding photographer, and have a life in the summer.
Possible.
So
It is so
possible.
possible. I know. And I know some photographers are like, well, I edit really quickly. I'm like, that's great. If you love the editing, you don't have to get rid of it.
No.
If it's fine for you and you enjoy it, like no one's saying you have to get rid of everything, but like there must be things in your business that take up time that you don't want to do. Like I just started with culling and proof galleries. And to me, that was like the most draining and took the most time and energy. But I'm like, there's so many other things I want to outsource eventually. I'm just one thing at a time. I'm doing it in a way that I feel comfortable. And I know that like every slow season, I'd like to do a little bit more research and see what else I can outsource. And that's kind of my goal every slow season. But
Yeah.
what's one more thing I can figure out? What's one more
Yeah.
thing I can get off my back?
And I love that you called it slow season and not off season because there really is no off season.
There is no off season.
No.
No.
That's so funny. I need to switch that because I always call it off season, but it's slow season. Duh,
It is slow
Sarah.
season. I mean, even like last slow season, I just shot a cookbook. So I was
Oh,
doing
cool.
shoots like once to two times a month, and they're big shoots. So it took a lot
Mhm.
of planning and coordination. And so like, yeah, it's slow season, but I was still doing consistent work.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's not definitely
And
not.
updating the back end of your business, which,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. I
yeah,
know. I used to think that like my family would look at me and be like, wow, she does like, you just don't work in the winter. And I'm like, no,
yeah,
I still work. I still
yeah,
am updating my website and my client guides. And like, I'm
yeah,
working. I'm just not actively going out and shooting.
yeah. So
Still
funny.
work.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Tia, thank you so much for sharing everything so
Yeah.
openly. That's what I was gonna say.
We'll get it
And
eventually.
vulnerably. That's where I need a sip of water. I'm like so like, ciao.
I know. I'm gonna sip my matcha.
Oh my gosh, your matcha looks so delicious and vibrant.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm just so grateful. Like this is gonna help so many people realize like what's possible for them. And I also would love to know from your perspective, because there's definitely people right now listening to this and they're on the fence about joining OMI this time around, whether they don't feel ready or they're scared to invest in it or anything like that. So, like, what would you tell someone that is on the fence about joining Outsourcing Made Easy?
My biggest thing is like if you're not ready, but if you even just are thinking about wanting to change how you live your life at all, do it anyways. Because I think it's October, right? Is when they
Yes.
usually
Yeah.
was in the sign. So
October. Yeah.
it was October. I bought it in October. I literally did not look at it until probably January or February.
Mhm.
And at first I was like, wow, like I feel like I'm so behind. I was there for all the like all those calls, the
Mhm.
group coaching calls, and I hadn't even opened any of them. So I was like, this is so embarrassing. I feel like I'm the only one. But honestly, I
Yeah.
don't think I was ready to open it yet. I'm glad I invested in it and I got it when I did. But I truly believe that there's a reason why I didn't open it for 4 months, because I just mentally wasn't ready. And if I had
Yeah.
tried, I don't think I actually would have taken any action. I'm glad I waited, because when I did open it, I was committed. I felt excited and
Mhm.
ready and determined to get something off my chest, just to have one task checked off. And in return, it worked. Everything kind of flowed. I didn't wait until I didn't even wait. I didn't even pick a time to wait for it. It just felt right. It just when I signed up and I did it, it felt right. And I
Mhm.
was skeptical. I remember you actually voice noted me like talking about it and like kind of give me more information. And I literally, I think I paid for it while I was in Dollarama. I'm just gonna say
That's
that.
so
I think
funny.
I was in line at Dollarama and I literally paid for it. I like pulled out my credit card in line and I like paid. And then I went home and I was like, hey, like to my boyfriend, I was like, hey, so I just like dropped some money on a course.
Yeah.
It's fine though. It's gonna be worth it. I'm like, I'm not gonna work as much next year. He's very happy now. So
That's amazing.
but
Yeah.
honestly, just do it. Just be open to taking a risk, be open to taking that big step. You are not the only one that can do these tasks. You
Mhm.
learned somehow, which means if you learn somehow, someone else can learn it too. And the worst that can happen is it doesn't work and you stop outsourcing. And then you maybe try again another time. Like what I kept telling myself, like, what's the worst that could happen? Like the photos don't turn out how I want it. Well, then I fix them and I send it out. And then I give feedback and hope again. And if it doesn't work, I find a new editor. I'm like, if these people can do it, so can I. Plain and
Yes.
simple.
I love that. And actually, I'm curious because I think it's also an interesting factor of like if you're in a relationship, a partnership, right? It's a lot of the times I find that someone could be not investing because their partner doesn't feel like confident in that or like like is there anything that you said to your boyfriend where you're like this if he's like wait what you just bought what and like how's this going to help you, is there anything you said where you're like this is what I need to do and I just know it in my gut and this is why, and then what was his reaction when he started seeing the results in your life?
I think a big thing is we are both on the same page in terms of like mindset. So when I told him, I said, like, I'm like, I just bought a course like on a whim. I'm like, honestly, it's been like something it's something he's been actually encouraging me to do for a while. He was like, why don't you hire an editor? And the reason he
Mm,
suggested this is because when I started photography, I did co-op for a photographer. She has a whole freaking team. Like
yeah.
she literally goes out and shoots and like she has assistants, she has co-op students, she has an editor. And he's like, well, if she can do it, you can do it. I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, I'm like, she's an exception. Like, literally, that was my words. I was like, no one can do this for me. Okay. He even offered to learn how to edit so he could help me. And I
Oh.
was like, no, you don't understand. You can't do it. I'm like, no one can do it. Like, honestly, if you asked him the transformation, he'd be like, yeah, I don't even, two different people. But when I told him I invested, and definitely was just like, oh, like, wow, like that's a good investment.
Yeah.
Like, what do you actually think this is going to benefit you? And my exact words were, you need to invest in yourself if you want to see yourself grow. And
Oh,
he was like, you're right. Like, he really didn't have anything like to oppose to that. I'm like, you just need to trust me, and you need to trust that like I'm going to take what I learned and I'm actually going to implement it, and I'm going to hold myself accountable. I think that's the biggest fear, is investing in something and not finding benefit in it, or not actually following through with it. And I was like, nope, you know what? Like, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to hold myself accountable. I'm going to take these steps, and I'm going to learn, and I'm going to keep pushing myself forward. And you just have to trust me that when I'm investing in myself, like, you're going to see growth, and we're going to see change. And now looking back, tears of joy. Like, I can't even explain it. Like, sometimes I'm laying there and I'm just like, tears are coming into my eyes, and he's like, what's wrong? I'm like, nothing's wrong. Everything's right. Like, it's just,
oh,
and again, I just started, like, I literally just started this journey.
oh
Yeah.
my gosh. I'm sitting here like just like seeing you talk. I'm just like so present right now. And I'm just like, I'm so grateful, first off, that you trusted me, right? Because I don't take it lightly. And this
Yeah.
just is another confirmation that I'm on the right path. Because like obviously
Oh,
there's so many
100%.
times that we're like, am I like where I'm meant to be with my dharma and everything? And I'm just like, no, I'm meant to help photographers find so much more freedoms in
Oh,
their
yeah.
lives, for it to trickle into their health, well-being, relationships, to actually live their fucking life, right?
It's
Not sit, be
been a game
chained to a
changer.
computer and a camera. Like, so yeah, thank you so much for sharing your story. And
It's been a game changer. I
oh,
truly believe that also, when you learn something from someone, it has to be someone you resonate with, because
mm,
I can hear the same words. I could have taken the same course from someone else, and it honestly might not have resonated with me. It might not have clicked. I might not have even absorbed the information or taken any action. But I truly believe that when you have someone that you resonate with, and that you feel connected with, that you need to be open to trusting the stuff that they're giving. Because there's been so many times where I heard the same message over and over and over, and I just needed to hear it from that one person for it to click. And once I realized that that person, the mentors that I have in my life, or the podcasts that I listen to, and the people that I'm really drawn to, or the courses that I like to take, once I realized that those people were the people that like I was absorbing from, then I'm like, okay, like, no matter what, if I need information, I'm going to check with them first, because I know that those are the people that I resonate with. And after
yeah.
taking Crystal Clear Marketing, and seeing just how much I connected with that, and connected with you after that, and just like what you've put out and the energy you put out, I knew that like, if I'm going to invest this money and take this course from anyone, it's going to be you.
Mm,
So it's just, yeah, once you find someone you connect with, you have to go with your gut, and you have to trust it, and you just have to take a leap. The worst that can happen is that it doesn't work. Like, that's it.
yeah.
Like, there's really not, the
Yeah.
worst that can happen is it doesn't work, and you spent that money, and you'll get it back somehow. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Tia. I feel like we could keep talking for hours. I'm
I know.
like looking at the time, I'm like, we've been talking for an hour and 10 minutes, and I love it. And I could
Oh
keep
my
talking forever.
God. Love
Oh my
that.
gosh, it was so much fun. It's
I
always great
know.
catching up with you. And I would love to end this off with letting everybody know where they can find you, connect with you. And again, let them know the name of your podcast.
Yeah. So my personal account is Tia Larissa Photography. I'm on my stories a lot, so you can always connect with me there. And my podcast is is Art of Gratitude podcast. That's the name of it on Instagram. And we post right now. We're posting episodes bi-weekly. And yeah, just kind of a mix of like business and entrepreneurship, but like wedding industry, some humor in there, mindset, um, and then yeah, I guess I feel like those are the only two places that I'm really on. So I
That's
was about to
awesome.
like say something else, and I don't have anywhere else. So Instagram is where I am. But yeah, you can find me there.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Tia.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm forever grateful.
I hope you enjoyed my chat with Tia. I am sitting here so freaking proud of her. I probably had chills 3 times throughout that whole chat with her, and my eyes totally welled up twice, because it's just so fulfilling being able to see her transform, because I remember exactly how she was feeling, how stressed. I felt that energy off of her last year in 2021. That was just in November 2021. And now it's July 2022, just a short while later, and she is just full of vitality, joy, space, energy. I'm just so happy for her and so proud of her that she actually took what she learned and implemented it. And I just want to say that if you really resonated with her story, and if your heart is tugging at you and pulling at you right now, being like, oh, she's so lucky, or I wish I could be in her shoes, or anything that, makes you really want to have more either time freedom in your life, financial freedom, creative freedom, in general, more spaciousness, right? For you to really be able to do what you want when you want, then I'm here to tell you and encourage you that that could be you. She is just one of my Outsourcing Made Easy students, just one of the success stories. So I really wanted to show you that, hey, it could be possible for so many more people than just myself. And if it's more possible for so many more people, it's possible for you too. So if you want the opportunity to learn more about outsourcing before committing to signing up for Outsourcing Made Easy this round, remember, I only open the doors to Outsourcing Made Easy once a year, then I have a free live training for you that you won't want to miss. It's a free live masterclass where you will learn the 4 secrets to having more time and financial freedom while avoiding burnout as a photographer. And you will also get to ask me questions live. All you have to do is go to sarahmonica.com/masterclass right now to snag your free seat. I have a limited number of spots available, and I only host this masterclass once a year, so make sure to do so right away. Again, go to sarahmonica.com/masterclass, and I cannot wait to connect with you and answer all of your burning questions. Yay! Thank you so much for hanging out with me and tuning into this episode. If you got value out of it, please feel free to message me on Instagram at Sarah Monica Photo. That's Sarah no H, Monica with a K photo, to let me know. I get so freaking energized hearing from others that what I've said has had a positive impact on their lives. Also, make sure to hit subscribe to the Shine and Thrive podcast to never miss an episode. I'm so grateful for you, and I'm sending you all the productive vibes your way so you have the best week ever.